Hi, I'm Yvonne from Designs. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a basket weave or lattice design card. For this one, I've actually put the lattice or basket weave through the middle of the card. This one, I've put it on the edge of the card. It uses exactly the same template. It just depends where you want to pop it on your card. And then here's another design, which I've popped it through the middle, but I've made this a landscape design. So my template here, I've made using our Stampin' Up! Grid paper. So I've just actually used the top corner of the grid paper here. So I've got the 1 centimetre up here and then the measurements down the bottom here. So the easiest way to make a template is just use that corner. Now I've used a couple of rulers. I want to come into the grid paper 2 centimetres. So I come across 2 centimetres for the large line, and then you come across 1.5 centimetres for the smaller line, because they alternate large, small, large, small, large, small. So for the very first line, I've started at 1 centimetre and then I've gone diagonally and stopped at 3 centimetres in the corner there. Just going to make sure that you can see that really easily. So that's from 1 centimetre to 3 centimetres. Then I've gone down to 2 centimetres and I've gone diagonally from 2 centimetres down to 3.5 centimetres. The next line is 3 centimetres down to 5 centimetres. 4 centimetres down to 5.5, 5 centimetres down to 7, 6 centimetres down to 7.5, 7 centimetres down to 9, 8 centimetres down to 9.5, 9 centimetres down to 11, 10 centimetres down to 11.5, 11 centimetres down to 13, and 12 centimetres down to 13.5 centimetres. And that should give you enough to run all the way down the side fold of an A5 piece of cardstock, depending whether you put it in the centre or at the side of your card. So make yourself up a template and then do a couple of photocopies so you don't have to keep making it. So for this card, I've actually used the hand-penned Memories and More envelopes and cards. It can be found on page 127. It comes in a pack and they are plain cards, but with lovely printing on the front, and the envelopes are absolutely stunning. And that's your back of your envelope and, front of your envelope and then your back of your envelope. Just absolutely beautiful. They come as a pack of 20 of the card bases and 20 of the envelopes in Australia for $17.50. And that's in the current 2021 to 22 annual catalogue. So for today's card, I'm actually going to use the Bloom Where You're Planted suite. It's a gorgeous suite of products on page 80 and page 81 in the annual catalogue. And I'm going to use the stamp set, which is Plentiful Plants, and then the dies. With that, you can get that as a bundle, or you can get the suite. I've actually made up a nice template so that you can see the stamped images and then the matching dies. Some of the dies actually also coordinate with our paper, our designer series paper, which is absolutely gorgeous. And here's just a sample of the papers. I actually like to put the little spots up there so I can instantly see the different colours. And that comes in 12 by 12 and you get 2 of each design, and these are the front and the back of each of the papers. So a great combination of products to choose from. So let's get started with the card. I'm starting off with the card base. It's an A5 sheet, which is actually half of an A4 sheet. And I'm simply going to fold that in half. And then bone score it. And then bringing in my template, I'm going to take the template up against the fold at the side. So you can hold this in place with a couple of paper clips if you wish, but pretty much you want to have it right across the edge of the card, and that's on the fold, with the top being up the top here. And then you're going to take a pair of paper snips and snip all the way down for each of those lines, remembering that one set are longer than the other set. Oops, I've got to hold it steady. And this is why over time you will need to make yourself a new template. So I've made one and then I've photocopied it a few times so that I've got one master template, but then a few to use for my actual creating of each of the cards. All right, so that's my snipping done. Take the template away. And then this is what you're left with. So I don't know if you can see there, but it's all feathered through here. So the easy way to hold these into place, you could just start at the top, fold the first one down, skip the next one and fold the third one down. Skip the next one, fold the fifth, and I'm just folding where I've cut to. Skip the next one, fold the seventh, skip the next one, fold the ninth, skip the next one, fold the 11th. So you could actually glue all of those down just by popping a tiny dot of glue on each of these, or if you like, you can flip these underneath. Doesn't matter whichever way you prefer. But then you will need to glue the very last one down. So I just grab my glue. A little tiny dab of glue on the end. And hold that in place. And again, I would hold that in place with a paper clip. And then when you fold your card back, I'm going to use my bone scorer just ever so gently and carefully to just run over all of those fold lines. That is your lattice down the edge of the card. So then you can decorate your card however you wish. Now the second way of using this is to have the lattice work running down the middle of your card. So very easy to achieve. Simply fold your cardstock in half again, and I'm using again a A5, so which is half of an A4, and then the front panel you're going to fold in half. Now you could score this, but I like to be quite precise. This to me is much easier. You're not going to burnish this time because we do need to open it back out, okay? But we need to have our template on the fold, okay, which is down here. So we're going to pick up our card, fold that back on the fold, open the card out. This is the back of the card. This is the front of the card. Pop your template back on. And start cutting. So I've got that template nicely matched on the fold of the card, which when we open it back out, it'll actually be the middle of the card. So I'm just cutting each of those little lines on my template down to the very last one. Take my template away, and then I have all of my little feathery looking cuts. Open out the card, and again starting at the top, fold the top one down, I'll open it up so you can see more easily. Fold the top one down, then miss one, fold the third, miss one, fold the fifth, miss one, fold the seventh, miss one, fold the ninth, miss one, fold the 11th. And again, just to make it easy for the video, I'm just going to tuck those each of those folds, I have to pick it up so hopefully you can still see, each of those folds underneath the one that's not folded down. Okay, a little bit of glue on the end. Come on, glue. Carefully run my bone scorer over all of those folds. A little bit too much glue on the end there. And then that is how you get it through the centre of your card. Great little design, very, very effective. You can do it on any cardstock for any design, great for a Christmas card. And then you want to finish off your card with some stamping. You could emboss this first. You could emboss it after you've done this. Lots of different ideas and lots of different things. So I'll bring in some bits that I've stamped and finish off the card. So now it's time to embellish the card. So I decided that I wanted some texture on the front of this one. So I've just popped it through the cut and emboss machine. I've just opened out my card, so I just have the front of the card embossed, and I've used the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. So I've just got the front embossed, and then I wanted to have a brick wall. So in our designer series paper, the bloom where you're planted, I've used this piece and I've just paper snipped some of the bricks away. So I'll keep that piece for another card. So I'm just going to adhere this. And I don't want to glue all of the edges because I do want it to have the designer series paper to have some lift. I don't want it to be stuck hard and fast, which will also add a little bit to the texture of the card. Bringing that down, and then just so I've got a nice little border around the side. And then I've gone ahead, so that you didn't have to watch me do all these bits, I've paper snipped some of the pieces out of the designer series paper, not that piece, these two pieces here. I've just snipped those out of here. So I've snipped that piece and that piece. So the designer series paper can be used for the dies as well as embellishments. And then I've also stamped the pot. So that's this one, and then die cut it. I've stamped that on cinnamon cider in cinnamon cider. I've stamped this piece in Evening Evergreen. And I've stamped this piece in Garden Green. So the colours that I've used for this card are all of the colours that coordinate with this paper, which are Cinnamon Cider, Evening Evergreen and Garden Green. Then I've also die cut some of the other little embellishments in the die, which is this piece here and these two little pots, which are out of the dies. So now it's time to finish off the card and put all of the pieces together. I like to use dimensionals because it will give the card a nice lift. And I tend to use the mini dimensionals, use my pokey tool to easily get the paper off so you don't have to fuss with your fingers. And then I'm just going to build my pieces. I'm going to put dimensional on the back of that one as well. Again, use my pokey tool to get the papers off, which makes it nice and easy. And I haven't put my pot on straight, so I'm just going to lift that up and just turn it a little bit. Then this little piece, I'm just going to put a couple of dots of glue on, and that's going to sit over the top of my pot. I should have got my silicone mat out. Actually, I'm going to grab that now. Because if I just put that with all that glue on straight on top of the pot, it'll actually smoosh out or spread out. You can see there. So if I take a little bit of that glue off on my silicone mat and now put it on my pot, it's taken off and removed the excess. So now it's going to sit nicely. I'll leave my silicone mat there so I don't forget to use it. Then I'm going to pop this piece. I think I should have brought this piece up higher, so bear with me for a minute. Pull that up. Yep, that bit over there. I'm just sort of stamped and die cut some pieces that I liked. I always tend to do extra so that I've got more than I need, so I can play when I put the card together. That's just going to sit over there. Then these little pots, they've got a couple of little hole bits still in them. They're only tiny, so I probably only need 1 dimensional on each. Makes it easy to pick up with your paper piercing tool. Then this one, hopefully, no, a dimensional is not going to fit on there, so I'm just going to cut a little bit off the edge. Put that across the bottom. Flick the paper off. Might put that up on the step, up on the brick, I mean, not the step. Which little piece shall I put where? Nope, I don't like that. I'm going to put it there. Bring my dimensionals, mini dimensionals back in, a couple on there. And I'm going to flick that behind this piece. And then a couple of dimensionals for the succulent. That's it. And then the final thing that I need to do is do a little sentiment. Then I've made this cute little tag, which I've popped dimensionals on, and I'm just going to pop it through the back of the card, about there, I think. So to make the little tag, I've used the tailor-made tag dies, which you get all of these. I've used the second smallest, and you get these cute little I don't know what you call it, reinforcements. I guess that's what they are, like we used to have it in school, put on our paper, and I've just cut it out in the garden green here. Then a tiny bit of linen thread to finish off. The thank you word is also from the same stamp set, Plentiful Plants. And then on the envelope, I've just popped a stamp because I like to have a matching envelope and also an insert. So that's my first card done. Now for the second card, this is the one with the lattice through the centre. I'm actually going to use a piece of designer series paper. This is the lovely bricks, also from the Bloom Where You Planted. So it's just this one here. I'm going to pop that in behind to give it the idea of bricks behind it. And I'm just going to snip off this excess piece that I've got down the bottom here, because otherwise that will stop my card from standing up. So on this side of the bricks, because this bit is going to, the bricks is what we want to show, I'm just going to pop a few little mini dimensionals, about 6 of them. Now I'm actually putting another spare one up the top here, but I'm not taking the paper off that. I'll explain what that's for in a little while. I'm just taking the papers off again with my pokey tool, because that makes it nice and easy. Oops, except that one doesn't want to come off. And then I'm opening my card to the inside, and I am placing that piece of designer series paper over the lattice work. Push it down. Oops, and I can see that through there, so that's no good. I'm going to have to move that. Lucky I can. I'm just pushing it up with my pokey tool. Oops, so it's still in place, but it's just tucked up there. So there I've got a brick effect in behind. Then I've die cut and stamped several pieces from the die cut set and the stamp set. So I'm just going to bring that in. I've got the hanging basket. And I've got this, oh, you can't see that, this this fern and this here. I've actually cut this piece so that just here so that I can manipulate and get that in behind. I've threaded the fern through the little hanging basket. Put that out of the way. And then I have stamped and die cut this, which is going to go in behind the hanging basket. A couple of little dots of glue, you don't need a lot if the glue wanted to come out. Just to hold the pot into place. I've been putting some dimensionals, mini dimensionals. This will help hold all the little elements in place. Just on the back, take all the papers off and then pop that into place on the front of the card. Oh, and I've also taken this out of the plastic sleeve so that you can see it more easily. About there, I think. And then to finish off the little hanging basket, I've just got a little piece of linen thread, which I'm just going to thread through. I can move that out of the way now. And that mini dimensional that I tucked in earlier and didn't take the paper off, that's what I'm going to attach the hanging basket thread or the linen thread to. So I'm just going to manipulate that underneath, a little bit fiddly. Use your pokey tool, manipulate that underneath, take the paper off. I can't find the mini dimensional. Take the paper off the mini dimensional. Easier said than done. There it is. And then flick those little bits of left, the end bits, onto the dimensional to hold that into place, which is on the inside, so you can't really see it, but it gives you that little bit of texture and that little bit of thread. Then to finish off, I've stamped a selection of the leaf details, and I've also fussy cut a couple of the pots out of the paper. So this one and this one, and I'm just going to put those on the front of the card. One on this side and one on this side, and then finish off with the leaf detail. Now I'm not actually going to put a sentiment on this card. Sometimes I like to leave cards in my stash without sentiments, because depending on who you want to give the card to, it might be a birthday, it might be a thank you, it might just be a for you, for no reason card. So I like to have a good stash without a sentiment on them, but you could easily add a sentiment to this if you wish. Final little bit, I've stamped 2 of these because I wanted to fill my little pot there. And then the final thing I need to include is an insert and an envelope. So I always like to finish off my cards with a stamped envelope and a stamped insert. And inserts, I make the same as as a card mat. I just make them 1/2 centimetre smaller than the actual base of the card. So there, ladies and gents, if any gents are watching, that is my second card finished. So they are both lattice or basket weave cards, but one I've designed so that I could put it into the middle. Actually, a lady at one of my classes, I taught this class, and we actually used the Soar Confidently stamp set, and this was the card class. And at the end of the class, she said, "Oh, I wonder if you could make it with the lattice through the middle." So that was my challenge, and that's how I came about designing these other ones. So as I showed you earlier, this is a landscape one, and that's using the Hydrangea Haven suite of products, and then this one here using the hand penned suite of products. So a nice collection of cards, all for different occasions, using different stamp sets, but with the same technique. Thanks for watching. If you would like to purchase any of these products, there will be a link to my store at the end of the video as well. Happy stamping!